These are the 6 builds that are dominating warrior rating, but they come in 2 groups, Raging Blow builds and Flagellation builds. We can cover that later. Now we can simplify this to 3 types of specs: Devastate, Quick Strike, and Single-Minded Fury, or Prot, Two-Handed, and Dual Wield. You'll also notice that all the specs have Consumed by Rage, so let's take that out of here to simplify this more. Let's check the statistics on each of these real quick. We can see what the top 5 warrior parses on each fight are using. For Aquinas, we see all the top 5 warriors are using a two-hander. Let's write that down so we can keep track of the statistics. Ghamoo has the top 5 guys all using Single-Minded Fury builds. We can tell because they all have 2 weapons equipped. Lady, we have the top guy using a two-hander, and the next 4 each have 2 weapons equipped, so we know that there's 1 two-hander and 4 Single-Minded Fury builds. Let's fast forward through the last few bosses and update our totals. Gelly's the reverse of Lady, 1 dual wields, the rest are two-hander. Lorgus is all dual wield, and Kelris is all two-handers. Akumai is all two-handers except for 1 dual wield. So what are the totals? This is what we have so far. 19 parses use two-handed DPS specs, and 16 use dual wield DPS specs. You probably notice no Devastate builds won, but that makes a lot of sense because it's a tank build. We did see other tank parses that topped the meters, but none of them used a shield. They just pulled threat basically, and they're not in D stance, so they hit 10% harder. You can do 400 plus DPS with the shield though. I got a 420 on Aquinas with the shield in my last video and got like rank 3 tank parse. Prop builds are 1 or 2 button rotations, by the way, so we can cover it real quick and then forget about it. Hit Devastate every global. This completes the 1 button rotation. If you want the advanced rotation, you just add in heroic strikes when you hit 100 rage. There's actually nothing else to it, and you can get a 100 parse as a tank doing that. It's that simple. It's possible that spamming Sunder every global will run you out of rage, but it's just a very low probability since you're auto-attacking still, and there's a lot of Wind Fury proc chances. So this spec is really dummy-proof. But now for the real damage builds. Remember when I said some builds use Flagellation and others use Raging Blow? Let's quickly cover that. These are the breakdowns for each boss. We can see who's using Flagellation and who's using Raging Blow. We have 4 Flagellations to 1 Raging Blow on Aquinas, 0 Flagellations, 5 Raging Blows on Ghamoo. It flips to 5 Flagellations and 0 Raging Blows on Lady. And then for the next 4 bosses, everyone's using Raging Blow. One more thing, Gellyhas parses are, in my opinion, illegitimate. The only way that you can actually get a top parse is by having half of the DPS in your raid go AFK. The reason this increases your personal DPS is because if you have a really fast kill time, you're going to spend half the fight in the immunity phase. So if instead you have your teammates do nothing, the fight gets a lot longer, but you spend a lot more time on target, so it enhances your DPS. I think this is lame because a traditional raid group of just random people playing together could never possibly implement this strategy. And also, it's just weird for the optimal thing for the individual not to be aligned with the optimal thing for the group. Flagellation is king on short fights. So we see the fights where people kill the boss in under 20 seconds. Pretty much everyone's going Flagellation. That makes sense because 15 over 20 is like 75%. Great uptime. All the bosses that we don't see Flagellation getting used on, they all have like 1 minute plus kill times. And even if you had a 75-second kill time, and so you got 2 Flagellations off, it would only cover 30 out of 75 seconds. So it would be a 40% uptime, which is half the effect you'd get on a 20-second boss fight. So that's kind of why Flagellation isn't so hot. But Ghamoo's a little bit of an exception because it does juice your bleed damage, and almost all your damage ends up being bleeds on Ghamoo. So that's why there's a couple people that are bucking the trend of Raging Blow there. Some people might have the final question of, well, is Raging Blow taken more preferentially by the people using two-handers? And as far as I can tell, no, because really what matters is how much uptime you're going to get on Flagellation. Sure, Raging Blow probably is a little more valuable if you have a slower weapon that hits harder, of course, but it's way more circumstantial to get double the effect out of your steroid from the fight being short than it is that your Raging Blow hits like 10 or 20% harder.